I haven't been on here all that much in the last 2 days or whatever, but I get a message from AntaeusG12, if I'm pronouncing that right, and he asked some questions. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole full thing. Jesus refers many times to the Old Testament. You have said that Orthodoxy takes Jesus' words are most literal. Then why does Orthodoxy try to explain away the Old Testament and words of Jesus as metaphorical stories and parables? This just to portray a kind God that we all want, despite the OT that Jesus confirms. Evolution. If Genesis is literal as Jesus makes it out to be, then evolution must be wrong. I admit that I do not know much about evolution details. My opinion is worth little, nor do I believe the world is 6 to 7K thousand years old. Human DNA, blah 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 blah. He said, here is a refutation of orthodoxy found on some website. Salvation due to God's contradictory, unfair, evil, and stupid animal sacrifices in nature. Neot maybe salvation and judicial is perverted, combined justice, mercy. We have in penal substitution, maybe God is our enemy and we have to be saved from him and not ourselves so that we can respond to God's love. Maybe pursuing sanctification is pointless since we are in these bodies in spirit from flesh, and complete sanctification can only be achieved after death. Maybe Protestantism is right, maybe God is evil. If God wants us to be just, then we should all go to hell. If God wants us to be merciful, then we should all be forgiven. In contemporary view of hell, not orthodoxy, uh, your views would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. I don't know. This is all these questions again. I don't really get the point of any of these. The Bible. This is if you're taking the Bible as sola scriptura and not looking at it as a book that's written in time and history. Jesus speaks in parables. I don't know where you get that he doesn't. He's constantly using parables and metaphors. As you know, one Old Testament that he references is the brass serpent that Moses creates and lifts up on a pole. He says, "So shall I be lifted up." He's comparing himself to the bronze serpent. He's not saying he is a bronze serpent that's been crafted by Moses. That's a metaphor. The most of the verses in the New Testament, a lot of them are added in, like the writer puts them in there. So this confirms this. That's their view. That's how they viewed it. Jesus speaking, he tends to take things from the Old Testament, which the Torah they idolized, and they idolized, I guess, the histories. Pretty sure they already had the Tanakh by then. The well, they did have the books of the Tanakh by then. He takes references that support himself. He doesn't. I don't see him saying that is 100% true, this and that. I still think people. I think that people knew of the documentary hypothesis and held to it. Held that there were certain things in there that they didn't like. They knew the different traditions. There was the Midrash where the Jews believed that Isaac was actually sacrificed. This was one that still got held on to even into the 5th century AD. That Isaac was sacrificed. When we go back and we look at e-text clearly says that he was sacrificed, and you see no more of Isaac at all. No Isaac. So maybe, I mean, the text is not. It's not sent down from. It's not the golden plates of Joseph Smith. It's not the Quran. The writers of the New Testament also. In the video previously, I said that yeah, Jesus seems to be talking a lot more about hell. That's what that writer wanted to put in there. the general message the church speaks, and it's always been consistent, of a God of love, of a God that's beyond. Well, I mean, Jesus even talks about the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Yeah, you're obeying the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. Yeah, you can go by the letters of the, word for word of, of Genesis, but then you're missing the whole point. You're missing the point that, okay, no, the point is God created the world. It's not a science text. It's written before science existed. Uh, God created the world ex nihilo, which actually science backs up. Something came from nothing, basically. A starting point in time creation. It's not going to say that, okay, now you have to convert and all this kind of crap, but just it presents the underlying realities, and people argued about the law. Was it added later? I mean, they're still talking of, these debates are still going on. Us going back and reading at the Bible, thinking this is the only thing, and that these are the final words. No, those are the words that began the debate, basically. What did they mean by that? Are these reliable? Who's reliable? And the idea of a canon, very, very late. I mean, it's only after you start losing and after the argument and the theological arguments have gone on so long that, all right, we need books that you can just point to for this stuff. Jesus doesn't quote anything. You need to sacrifice stuff. He actually, I think most people think he actually goes against it. The Jews absolutely do. You want to, I mean, that's a totally out of context. I think you're claiming that we take him out of context, but that's taking him out of context. If you read the Bible just as it is, it's already out of context. Because I mean, that's like picking up any book and Julius Caesar's wars. Well, this couldn't have happened because of the street lights and the way that we build dams. Like because of Hoover Dam, and that I mean, no, you wouldn't know what you're reading. You're like, that guy. This could have never taken place in the 1800s. Well, it didn't. It took place, 1900 years ago. Read the book. Oh, it's the Bible just as the Bible. That doesn't. I mean, that can't make sense with a book like that, where it's a compilation of Gospels according to, and then you have letters to different communities. Letters by themselves are not. I mean, a lot of these letters, we look at Corinthians. What the hell was he saying? We don't know. There's some things. Oh yeah, by the way, tell so and so I said this and that. And you only have one part of the conversation, so it's already not in context. So you're gonna read that and then say, okay, this is all that there is. There's no deeper meaning. When all the Gospels and letters were written around communities for communities that already knew a lot more than was in there. The Gospels keep saying, and there were more stories that we don't have enough time to write down about, but you already know. They have things like this. There are so many stories that people still know to this day. So again, only if you take sola scriptura as true that any of this is true. I think this is the first time I've actually mentioned somebody who's messaged me only privately, but the way their question was stated, I wasn't thinking at the beginning, just not being conscious of it, but the way the letter or the PM was stated, I figured, well, now it's an afterthought. I think it's okay since I already mentioned it. Not mentioning the person's name, just their whatever. All right, peace to you. I hope this answered your question. In fact, I'm going to put the name in the video so you can find it and then try to send it to them. I used to have such a. You know what? Somebody recently showed me how to send videos, and I really appreciate it. All right, peace to you. I hope this answers your question. This is at least my answer for it. I don't know. I think all those things are kind of wacky. That, oh well, no, the Protestants are right. No, they're. One thing that we know is that they're wrong. All right. Well, it's one of my views. Okay. Peace to you, and thank you for the question. It didn't offend me. I know you wrote in there, this is not to be hostile or kind of saying, no, no, no. Questions are questions. Ask away. It's just with foul language, graphic language, threats, stuff like that, shit talking, spam. That's the only stuff that I take down. All right, peace to you.